The story concluded in a single, continuous update. Please get comfortable, wherever you are. Our story begins now. My girlfriend suffered from depression, and her medication and therapy cost over $10,000 a month. To help her recover, I worked day and night, taking on illustration gigs and delivering food. My friends warned me I'd work myself to death. One day, I got a delivery order for a high-end Japanese meal, valued at $18,000, to a wealthy villa complex. I respectfully delivered it with both hands. When the client looked up, I saw my girlfriend, who should have been at her therapy session, standing at the door, staring at me in shock. "Aren't you supposed to be at the hospital, Willow Green?" I looked at the elegantly decorated, luxurious villa, my left hand clutching the sushi box tightly. Even though it was 104 degrees Fahrenheit, I shivered as if plunged into an ice bath. I'd only ever seen places like this in TV dramas. "I'm sorry, Evan, let me explain. Dr. Lou had an emergency this afternoon, and I just came to a friend's place to hang out." Faced with the sudden situation, Willow Green frantically grabbed my sleeve. It was her usual apology, a move that always worked, but this time it failed. I coldly slapped Willow Green's hand away. Her custom-made designer dress was so expensive I couldn't even name the brand, yet it somehow mocked those basic clothes, fitting her rich heiress demeanor far better. I lowered my eyes, pulled out my phone, and opened the appointment interface for Grace Hospital. Seeing that Dr. Lou still had openings for the psychology department today, I didn't even bother to expose her. Taking a deep breath, I collected my thoughts and calmly said, "Is it fun, Willow Green?" Pretending to be a poor, depressed girl around me, too stingy to even buy a cup of milk tea, when in reality you're a rich socialite who spends $18,000 on one meal? My lips trembled as I glared at the woman in front of me, unaware when my eyes had filled with tears. "You really took me for a fool, didn't you? $18,000. I'd have to deliver 6,000 orders, work for 2 months straight." The most ridiculous thing was that the only app still open on my phone was the message I'd sent Willow Green half an hour ago. I told her I was planning to make her favorite lotus root soup for dinner because the client in the rich area had been generous, tipping me $100. I never imagined that the tip was from Willow Green herself. Willow Green often hugged me late at night, telling me that in this world, she would never doubt my love, claiming even her parents' love for her wasn't as pure as mine. These whispers once filled me with joy. In a world where genuine affection was a rarity, I felt lucky, but now, looking back, no one could be so foolish as to risk heatstroke for a $5 high-temperature subsidy, just to scrape together her medical expenses for the month. I hadn't slept more than 5 hours in ages, dreaming only of her recovery. "You knew all this, didn't you?" My voice, questioning her, became increasingly choked. Willow Green's usually calm expression showed a crack. Her eyes reddened slightly as she nodded. In that cramped, dilapidated apartment, a half-hour walk from the subway station, she watched me struggle, watched me stretch every dollar, watched my embarrassment, yet she desperately paid for this fabricated experience game just to treat her supposed depression. She watched the whole time, like a creator observing her creation, with a cold detachment. "I'll transfer a sum of money to your bank account as compensation. I'm sorry for this." Willow Green lowered her head, her eyes filled with guilt and a hint of helplessness. Realizing she couldn't explain, she simply gave up. My fingers stiffly pulled out the crumpled order slip from my pocket, a full 18 inches long, filled with descriptions of the highest quality meats. I crumpled it into a ball and threw it at her with all my might. Willow Green didn't dodge, her expression a mix of sadness and regret. The indoor air conditioning brought a few moments of cool tranquility. Distant footsteps approached, followed by a man's voice. "Willow, haven't you gotten the takeout yet?" "I'm starving." Willow Green and I stopped our stalemate. Her expression shifted slightly. As we both turned, we saw a young man in pajamas walking over. Willow Green anxiously stepped forward to block him. "Why are you out here?" "I'll be right back in." "Go inside." But the boy seemed determined to find out. He walked around Willow Green, smiling at me, his almond-shaped eyes revealing a hint of familiarity and disdain. "This is..." Seeing our mutual silence, he curved his lips, then naturally linked his arm through Willow Green's, pulling down her sheer, lotus-pink nightgown. The red marks on her neck were strikingly obvious. She leaned against Willow Green, seemingly boneless, the woman's anxious gaze fixed on me. I despairingly turned my head, closing my eyes slightly. My sweat-soaked hair clung stickily to my face, and my temples throbbed. What had happened here? Even if I were dense, I'd understand. I initially thought I was just some unlucky guy in a rich person's slumming it game. Now, it seemed I was merely a seasoning in a rich girl's love story, truly awful. So, I didn't want to stay. I turned to pack up my delivery bag and leave, but the boy suddenly called out, "Wait, are you Willow's slum boyfriend from off campus? In that delivery uniform? I didn't recognize you. Are you Evan, from the law school?" I stopped and turned to look at him. After half a minute, I finally confirmed he was a senior from my previous year, Jackson Miller, who had an excellent family background and looks, and was adored by everyone. But we had history. He had manipulated things to steal my poverty scholarship, which was why I never fawned over him like everyone else. Seeing my gaze suddenly become unnatural, Jackson tightened his grip on Willow Green's arm. He spoke in a feigned, delighted, high-pitched voice. "Willow, I can't believe I casually complained to you last year about a pretentious junior I hated, asked you a few questions, and you actually helped me deal with Evan. I admire your methods. They're so clever." Jackson looked up and glanced at me, continuing to gloat. "You've got Evan, the law school's prodigy, spinning around like a dog." My hands, hanging by my sides, slowly clenched into fists. The indoor air conditioning blew on me, yet I felt no coolness or relief. The future, relationships, money, sweat, everything belonging to ordinary people, was, to these people, like an annoying weed by the roadside. Not only did they ignore it, but they also trampled it underfoot and spat on it. Jackson leaned in and kissed Willow Green's cheek, as if it were a reward for thoroughly humiliating me. His eyes, full of provocation, glanced at me, then, as if remembering something, his expression turned strange and wild. He asked, "Evan, Jr., did Willow Green tell you she has depression?" I frowned, not denying it. The man in front of me was smiling, but the words that came out of his mouth chilled me to the bone. "That's because I told Willow that you had a sister who committed suicide due to depression. As long as Willow said she had depression, you'd definitely fall for it. No questions asked." Indeed, as soon as he spoke, there was a momentary silence in the air, broken only by the chirping of cicadas. My mind buzzed, losing all reason. I bit my lower lip, took off my delivery helmet, and, holding it in my hand, furiously smashed it towards Willow Green. If I tolerated this, I might as well open a dumpling stand tomorrow. My chest heaved violently as I cursed. Depression, huh? Pretending to be poor, huh? Like to stab people where it hurts, huh? You deserve your parents not loving you. This beast deserves it. Why didn't your mom just kill you when she beat your dad in front of you? Today, I'll beat you to death for your mom. During my year with Willow Green, whether it was an act or genuine emotion, we had shared our vulnerabilities. So, I knew what she could never get over, her parents' coldness and neglect, which had left her without family love since childhood. And now, this became my weapon to verbally attack and curse her. Before either of them could react, I repeatedly struck Willow Green's face. Fueled by anger, I gasped for breath, my head starting to spin from long-term sleep deprivation. The moment Jackson mentioned my sister, Chloe, my sanity, which I had desperately clung to all afternoon, instantly crumbled. She was my untouchable raw nerve. Jackson pulled me away. Willow Green hadn't fought back. She covered her mouth, her hands covered in blood. "Are you okay, Willow?" Jackson's voice, filled with anger and a hint of a sob, said, "I'm calling the police right now. This lunatic is crazy, daring to hit you. I'll tell my mom." Willow Green, however, grabbed his hand and shook her head. "No, don't. I owe him this." She smoothed her disheveled hair, stood up, walked over to me, and handed me a gold card from her pocket. "The password is your birthday. I know things can't be undone now, but, I'm sorry," I sneered, my eyes fixed on her, now only filled with ice and hatred. "Just die already." I forcefully snatched the gold card from her fingers, left those words, and turned to leave. The card had $770,000. After asking the boss of the food delivery outsourcing company for my wages, I resigned. My 240-square-foot studio apartment was a place you could see from end to end. Willow Green and I had moved out of the dorms because she said her depression's physical symptoms were worsening, and she wanted me to be with her every day. Initially, I wasn't completely unguarded with Willow Green, who had bravely entered my life, but seeing that she had the same illness as my sister ultimately softened my heart and clouded my judgment. For a while, I couldn't tell if my past feelings for her were true love or simply a desire for compensation fueled by my endless guilt over my sister. I just madly, obsessively wanted to cure Willow Green's depression, as if that would somehow lessen my own insurmountable nightmare. A year's worth of belongings wasn't much, but the matching couple items were a glaring eyesore. I threw them all into the trash. I listened to the old air conditioner hum, staring at the ceiling, slowly undressing. The constant, sleepless labor finally caught up to me, and I fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, I don't know how many times I dreamed of the shocking scene in the bathtub. She lay bloodless in the crimson liquid, her body pale like a porcelain doll, devoid of warmth or life. Medication bottles were scattered by her drooping fingertips. Her slender, half-closed eyes were just as they were when she dozed off while studying, day and night, but this time, they would never open again. She would never rub her sleepy eyes and ask when her brother was going to bed. On her phone, she had cleared all her chat history, leaving only a final message for me: "Brother, I'm sorry," and a transfer of $3,569.81. This was all the money she had in her pocket. That year, spring was in full bloom, and the angelic Chloe, blessed by heaven, left this world. I was forever trapped in that spring. The rustling of a plastic bag behind the door woke me. A woman in a black dress was squatting by the trash can, furtively rummaging through something. The woman paused, then slowly turned to face me. It was Willow Green. She was still wearing a mask, and there were several bandages on her face. I rubbed my aching forehead, having forgotten she still had the apartment key. The couple's rings, water bottles, watches, and souvenirs I had thrown into the trash that afternoon had all been pulled out by her and neatly arranged on the floor. "What are you doing with these?" Willow Green lowered her eyes at my question, her emotions unreadable. "I came to collect a few things to take with me. They're all worthless." I sat up from the bed. I surveyed the room for any other important items. Given the situation, I planned to move back into the dorms and cancel the lease here. Willow Green held the worthless silver couple's ring in her hand, her thumb gently rubbing it. Her voice was forlorn as she whispered, "Evan, I know you don't believe me, but I was truly sincere. I really believe no one has ever loved me so purely. I don't want to lose you." I waved my hand, lowering my head with a sneer. The scene from the afternoon mockingly replayed in my mind. Sincere about what? Was it because you loved me that you specifically had me deliver your post-coital meal? Should I thank you for what happened between you and Jackson? I can explain. Nothing ever happened between us, and I only agreed to be with him casually before, and I've wanted to break up with him for a long time. I've realized that the person I truly love is. There's no need to discuss this anymore. I interrupted her coldly, my gaze indifferent. The water dripped into the bucket in the bathroom. The knee-high faucet had been leaking for years. To save a little on the water bill, I'd always kept a plastic bucket underneath. The money saved was mere pennies. Insincere love, when spoken, sounded laughable. The moment the deception was exposed, regardless of sincerity, an unbridgeable chasm had formed between us. Actually, Willow Green, when you used my sister's situation to get close to me, did you ever consider that the boomerang would eventually come back to hit you? What do you mean? I didn't respond, just frowned, and opened the door to ask her to leave. Seeing my resolute expression, her eyes showed some hurt. She then stuffed all the items from the floor into her bag and stood up. "Don't pretend to have depression anymore, because the more women there are like you, the more stigmatized depression becomes. And the harder it is for real patients to get help, the more people like Chloe there will be." After a moment, the woman in front of me slowly nodded. Then Willow Green took a bag of ribs and lotus roots from behind the door. She had seen the message I sent about having an extra meal. "Can you make lotus root soup for me one last time?" "No. Your family chef makes it better. I only like yours." "Evan, why can't you believe me? Why can't you give me another chance?" Her voice was already choked. I hadn't expected to see such a pleading expression on the face of Willow Green, the high and mighty Grace socialite. At this moment, everything seemed to deviate from the slumming it game script. Regardless of the truth of her words, I remained unmoved and silent. She knew I was refusing. She tried to grab my hand, but ultimately lowered her gaze with a sad smile. Before leaving, Willow Green's eyes were red as she looked back at me. "Do you still love me?" "No." "Can you love me one more time?" "No." After Willow Green left, I began to pack up the clutter in my apartment, preparing to move back to the university dorms next week. Late into the night, I slumped on the sofa, my gaze fixed on a locked box in the corner of the wardrobe. It contained the belongings my sister